5, 4, 3. Welcome to RiverCity-Media basketball special with Coach Roy Pankey. We've going to get into the girls tournament a little bit. Going to get in the boys tournament even farther. About an hour and a half from tip-off right now of what should be an interesting final game. But first, I want to welcome Roy. I've sure enjoyed going through this tournament with you. It's something we've talked about. It's a little different spin when you don't have to worry about everything. You can just focus on the tournament.
Right. Yeah, and I've enjoyed it also, my man. I'm telling you, this tournament it's been crazy, man. It's actually gave me a couple of nightmares, but that's the fun of it, man. You know, it's been unpredictable, and I think if you're a sports fan, I think that you've enjoyed it. So
absolutely,
thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, I did a bracket, a Sweet 16 bracket, a Elite 8 bracket, and none of them have San Diego State and UConn in the final game tonight. So
me either.
I've been all over the place on this. I was telling somebody my original pick was Alabama and Houston, and they didn't escape the second weekend, the start of the second weekend. But before we get to that, there is a lot of buzz. Most highly watched women's game was the semifinals. In the finals last night, even more. That women's basketball game was more watched than any NBA game this year so far. And I love women's basketball, and it's not just because I'm a Tennessee fan, but there's a beauty to women's basketball. It's two different games. But LSU wins the national championship. Comment just a little bit on what the difference in the women's game and the men's game is.
Well, honestly, of course, with the women's game, I mean, you don't get to see the high-flying dunks and all that kind of stuff that we're used to in the men's game. But coaching girls, I can tell you that I feel like the women's game is more cerebral, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because when I coach guys and I coach girls, the girls are they seem able to carry out exactly what I want. And the guys, they have a tendency to break away. And don't get me wrong, there's some really good players out there for the men that do execute at a high level. But it's just like the girls really take pride in doing that. And now that they've added a little razzle-dazzle to that, there's some really exciting players out there, as we've seen. Caitlin Clark has stole the show, man. I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And you know what I've always said, too, and we'll get to Caitlin Clark in the finals just in a minute. When I watch women's basketball, I feel like I watch players that take more pride in executing at a higher level than the boys do and the men. I feel like these girls are more focused on the game plan. But Caitlin Clark was great last night or throughout the tournament, but it was LSU that ended up taking it. Comment just a little bit about the girls' tournament in last night's game.
Well, I'm going to say this. I really felt I felt that South Carolina was teetering. You go through a season undefeated, then you're the target. And then there's a little more pressure on you than everybody else was. So I wasn't really surprised that they lost, but I wasn't surprised they let LSU won like they did last night. That didn't surprise me at all because the coach they've got Mulkey's a great coach, great motivator. And to get those girls to that point in her second year, something told me they're going to win this thing.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't think that Iowa could defend them that well anyway. I thought Iowa got on the streak, and of course Clark was crazy with everything she did. But I felt like that South Carolina just was not going to be able to get through that. And so LSU just finished the job. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think they was just had too much firepower for Iowa. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, Caitlin Clark was a great player, but overall, when I watched the game yesterday, I felt like LSU was the more complete team, 1 through 5, than Caitlin.
Right.
And Caitlin Clark may have been the best player on the court, but LSU might have had the 2nd through 6 best players on the court.
Oh yeah, and then the kids coming off the bench for LSU. I mean, they produced like crazy last night. Caitlin Clark, she has it. Yeah. She has it, and you don't want to diminish any of the other players from LSU, the stars like Reeves and those guys, because Reeves is a walking double-double.
Yes, sir.
But you got to look at it. Iowa has to have Clark to put up numbers like that in order to be successful.
Good point.
So, LSU has more balance, more talent overall. And so sometimes we don't always see the fullness of what a player can do because their role doesn't require them to do as much as a Caitlin Clark does. So, not to take away from her because she's the best I've seen in a long time. But, LSU just had too much for them, man. And I see all the things they talk about the officiating. Officiating may not have been the greatest thing, but when you give up 102 points, officials didn't lose the game for you. Defense lost the game.
And if you watch the game, there were some calls that were bad, but yeah, it was far from an officiating game.
Right.
I thought LSU was the better team, and again, congratulations to both Mulkey and LSU Bayou Bengals for their first national championship.
Right, and I mean, and today I think the talk has been about the John Cena thing that Reeves was doing, which Caitlin Clark has been doing all year basically. She's been doing that same thing, and there's a huge debate today about people are talking about how classless it was. I'm going to say this. People are going to think and say what they want to, but if you've got 10 million people watching this game, I mean, they tune into the men's game to see this type of thing.
Absolutely.
Right, and to me, this is going to help market the women's game. Not talking about getting into trash talking or showboating, but what I'm saying is, man, this is a age of people. I mean, people look for stuff like this.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a boost. I think it's a boost to them. I mean, and I also think if Clark is able to do it, then Reeves should be able to do it. So let's let them play ball, let them talk a little bit or whatever like that. And you got to still realize they're 20, 21-year-old kids that are still finding their way. They a lot of times when you're winning something like that, man, your emotions take over. What do you do? I mean, come on. It's just I think that she just enjoyed the moment, and so I'll leave it at that.
Well, I heard it today talking a little bit, and we'll move on to the men's game. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, probably the greatest rivalry that went from college to the pros, and Larry Bird was one of the worst trash talkers ever. But nobody,
anybody in that era would tell you, yes, definitely.
A little bit of trash talk sometimes just make your game a little better, and I'm
all
for it.
Yeah. I don't have no issues. Now, coaching-wise, I don't like my players to get engaged into too much as far as going back and forth all the time because their mind can get off of it. But I think a little bit of it is what the game is. I mean, I grew up playing, and, man, that's what we did. And we were able to play and not get out there and start fighting and carrying on, but we played for pride, So, it's got its good and bad points, but, hey, I'm all for
it. We played enough ball back in the day up at the Dayton City School courts outside that was some of the most competitive ball you'll ever play. And that was some of the best trash talking you'll ever hear, too.
I loved it, man. I loved it. And we drew people from everywhere, man.
Yeah.
There were people from all over came to play at those courts, especially on Sundays. And I loved the trash talk.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Well, let's get to the men's game. And I actually think there's a little bit of parallel between the men's game and what happened in the women's game. And let me draw this line that UConn is kind of like LSU to me. And San Diego State's kind of like Iowa. They've been on that run. But really, when you talk about UConn, you're talking about the talent that's going to be on the court tonight, in my opinion.
Yes. They have it. They're loaded, man. They're loaded.
Been on a run, too.
They are. And you know what? The thing about it is nothing's really been close for them.
Mm-mm.
I mean, but they've got 8 losses in the season. But it just seems like now they're putting it all together. It just seems to really click. And everybody seems to forget that, when it comes to basketball, it's not Power 5, it's Power 6, counting the Big East.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's not like you're getting a program. They may not be your traditional blue blood, but they have national championships, and they do come from a very tough conference. So, we always look for the Dukes, Kentuckys, and Carolinas, but this is a program I think that rivals that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just don't look at it that way, but I think that they actually rival those programs. So,
and San Diego State, credit to them, have been maybe the hardest nosed, going to play defense, going to wear you down, going to do what is necessary to advance, taking out the number 1 overall seed. But tonight, I just feel like going in, and you can talk about it a little more. How does San Diego State slow UConn down?
Well, both of those teams, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, both of those teams are ranked nationally defensively.
Yes, they're both great.
I don't know that they slow them down, but I think one of the things that San Diego State can hang their hat on is that they've got 7 seniors. And that's a lot of experience, man. And they played all 7 of those seniors in the last game. For most of the bigger programs, you don't see those with the seniors, because so many kids come to the big programs and then they play a year or two and then they're gone to the pros.
Good point.
San Diego State has 7 seniors, man, and so that is the one thing that makes me think that they could possibly pull this thing off. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm pulling for them, but I've been wrong almost all the whole tournament. I'm saying UConn by 10 is what I'm saying, but I'm pulling for San Diego State to win this thing.
I have a prediction in, and I've posted it on RiverCity-Media. I have it UConn 67, San Diego State 60, under 130 points, and I think that's to your point that UConn may want to stretch the floor, but San Diego State is physical, and what I like about San Diego State is they are, as you made the point, they're 21, 22, 23 years old. And a lot of times they're playing against 18 and 19 years old. That's a huge development period of your life.
Huge difference, man. And we can't, at this point, we can't call San Diego State a mid-major. They may actually be one, but look where they're at. They're in the national championship game. So it's not like you got this group of, guys that are lower division type of players, man. They've got players that belong where they're at right now. So I think that UConn's going to have their hands full, but I think UConn just seems to be clicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But I'm going to tell you this too, and what I thought about the other day. I don't know if you thought about this or not. San Diego State kind of reminds me of NC State back in '83.
Yeah, very, very, very good point.
Yeah, and NC State, they made their way through, and everything was just kind of close for them. And then, of course, they upset Houston in the final. If for all the people that are old as we are, that can remember that. But this team is, to me, it reminds me of that team, and they could be a team of destiny. I mean, who knows? Because you can remember probably watching that game, knowing that Houston was had a huge advantage. NC State was a huge underdog.
I know. Two great guards and one post player.
Right.
That's what you felt like or North Carolina State was going into that game. Right.
They didn't have they did not have the pedigree. But the thing about it is, it just seemed like everything was on their side. From their first game that year against Pepperdine in the tournament, Pepperdine had them beat. Pepperdine had them beat, and their star player misses 4 free throws, and NC State ends up getting that thing in overtime and pulling it out. So what I'm saying is, man, sometimes, you don't always have to be as good. Sometimes you just have to do what it takes, do the little things it takes to pull it out. And so we'll see, man. I just happened to think about that the other day. So,
well, we'd be amiss if we didn't talk a little bit. My dog's going crazy for some reason. Calm down, Toby. We'd be amiss if we didn't mention Florida Atlantic and how they are another mid-major Sun Belt type team.
Right.
that made a run to the Final Four.
Right.
And played well.
They did. They played well enough to win that game. I thought down the stretch that they didn't manage the clock well. Of course, they blew a 14-point lead, but that's just kind of going back to what I was saying about San Diego State, man. It just seems like they just were destined to win that game because, man, I mean, you know, the last person they wanted to take that shot took it and won it. You know, I thought, you know, I thought that they may call a timeout, but they didn't. They went ahead, they ran it, and I thought they may be looking for who's the big scorer, Michael. What's his name? Plays for them. I thought that he would be the one looking for the shot, but no, man. Butler took it and didn't hesitate. I mean, it was like, hey, man, I'm doing this thing.
Before we go ahead.
Go ahead. I just thought, like I said, I thought Florida Atlantic did a poor job with clock management down the stretch. I thought they were just jacking up some stuff, and of course, credit San Diego State's defense, but I just thought they could have done better and could have pulled that one out.
Is this a new era of the tournament we live in with the ones and twos and dones? It seems like it's took it a while to get there, but I am not shocked that we have San Diego State and had Florida Atlantic. Those schools that are able to become program schools and keep a group together 4 or 5 years, Creighton did for many years. It's becoming the wave of the future.
Right. Well, look at what Gonzaga and what Butler have done over the years. Right. I mean, those two schools have taken it to that level. They haven't gotten those championships, but I mean, they've taken it to that level. I think it's to the point now that the players, when they're hanging around and you've got juniors and seniors, and these guys have seen it all, they're not going to panic when they're playing against, you know, a big time program. And then the transfer portal has just changed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a kid that might be, you know, playing for Kentucky this year, and then next year he may be playing for San Diego State. You know, it's just, that's the way it goes, man. And so I believe now that I don't want to just come out and say that all the blue bloods and the big time programs are no longer going to rule it, but I just don't know if it's going to be as easy for them as it used to be.
Well, a perfect example, that Carolina team loses Walker Kessler to Auburn 2 years ago. Now Caleb Love's in the portal, and it's imaginable, not imaginable to me that you've got UNC losing people through the portal, and they seem to find a place that they fit better.
Right.
And I do think the portal is bad but great for college basketball, if you know what I mean.
Right. Well, you know what, man? There's so many things, and there's so many elements to it. I mean, like you said, you can get a kid who may feel like, okay, I'm not really reaching my potential here. And then you even get some kids as simple as, hey, I want to play closer to home.
Yeah.
And so they jump in that portal. And the thing about it is you don't want to die in the portal. You want to get into the portal knowing that you're going to go somewhere. And when these kids come out and they end up in a program like where they're feeling like they're blossoming, next thing you know, you see something special there.
Yep.
I mean, you know, that's of course it's a chance you take. You may actually go and fall flat on your face going somewhere else. But you know the way the portal is now, man. If you don't like it one place, you can go another place. I mean, kids are playing at 3, 4 different schools.
And it's becoming. I mean, it's just not.
One of my players, my former girl players, she's actually married to a guy who started his career at Notre Dame, and he started for Notre Dame, but wasn't happy there. Moved on and started for Vanderbilt for 2 years. Wasn't happy there, and then moved on to a smaller school, Detroit Mercy. Finished up his career there, and he was a high school All-American. So, you know, he went to 3 different schools.
Yeah, and the point, that's a great point, and it also goes the other way. If you're 18 and under recruited, and you want an opportunity in an SEC school, go to Belmont, ball out for a year. It's going to be there for you. Ball out for a year or two.
That's right. That's all you have to do, man. That's what Tyreek Key did. He went to, you know, kid out of Clay County right here in Tennessee.
Yep.
Small school. I mean, he was a great scorer in high school. He left there he went to Southern Illinois, I think it was, and now he's playing for Tennessee.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, great conversation, but I want to get back to tonight. I got one question for you about, and then we'll throw out our predictions and talk about it a little bit and wrap it up. Let everybody get on to the game. UConn has such a great inside-outside game. Is there a way from a coaching perspective, because I feel like sometime with Hawkins and San Diego, they just take half the court away and play a two-man back game.
They do, yeah.
What do you do as a coach from that position?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I would do. This is me talking, and I'm probably hard-headed with this. I'm going to do what I've done the whole year. I'm going to play the defense I've played. I'm going to trust my guys to step up and guard those guys.
Good answer.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, because you want to try to scheme sometime, but right now you can say, okay, I'm in the championship game. How we get here? We got here by playing the way we play. So we're going to trust this. We're going to let our guys do what they're used to. We might pay special attention because what's his name? Sandago. I mean, that kid, man, he can step out and shoot the three. I mean, it's ugly, but man, he can step out and knock that shot down, as well as post you up inside. So you got to account for him. I mean, of course, Hawkins too. You got to account for those guys. But you got to remember the role players with UConn, man. They'll stick a dagger in you too.
And then we'll go to our predictions, which we kind of already got, but we'll go back to them revisit. Yeah, if San Diego State wins tonight, is it the best story since NC State winning the tournament?
I honestly think so. I mean, I can't look back over the years since then and see a more Cinderella team doing it. I mean, nobody would have thought, like you said, when this first started. I mean, I had San Diego State, I think, losing to Memphis to start the thing off. I think that's who Memphis was playing.
Yeah, I had them out. I had
Memphis pick. So I mean, it was one of those things, man.
I've enjoyed this as far as San Diego State goes. I got a good friend in LA. Shout out Jonathan Mathis, the sports judge. He does a lot of great podcasts. Go listen to him sometime. Big NBA guy, but he hates San Diego. He is an LA guy, and he's been pulling for San Diego State. We don't call it San Diego State. We refer to it as Tony Gwynn University when we talk about it. But all right,
I've actually been there. It's a beautiful campus.
It is. I lived out there for just a little while, and it is a beautiful place.
Mm-hmm. Got to actually play a little ball out there one time. Went out there, so it was a lot of fun.
Nice. That is a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
I keep saying they've played their way into the Pac-12 with this tournament.
Probably.
They'll
get invitations. That's for sure.
That's for sure. And they got good football. Marshall Faulk played there. They've always had good football too.
Right. You have UCLA and USC leaving.
Yeah.
So
there's spots.
Right.
You have it 10 points. I have it 7 points. We've already laid our predictions out there. In the last 2 minutes or so, Roy, lay out the game plan for San Diego State to be that dog. And there are a dog, even in Vegas. I think they're a 7-point underdog.
Right.
What do we got to see tonight to see San Diego State pick up the big trophy here in about an hour?
Well, they're definitely going to have to be clicking offensively. Those guys are going to have to take those shots. Bradley, that's his name. He is going to have to step it up tonight. He ended up having a pretty good game the other night, but he's been their guy all year. They're going to have to find him, and they're also going to have to pick him up, man. And your inside guys are going to have to hit those boards, man. You have to keep UConn off the glass, and they're going to have to just do what they've been doing the whole year, man. They're going to have to defend at a high level because UConn, man, they're just stout offensively. I mean, they run their stuff, man, and they run it to the T. And so if they can disrupt that and somehow, force them into some cold shooting spots, and you don't have to make it a ugly game, but you just have to have different parts of the game it's ugly for UConn. If you can get them into like a 3 or 4 minute stretch and they're not getting a basket, if you can do that a couple of times and force some turnovers, then you got a chance really to pull this thing off.
Excellent advice. Excellent. Well, folks out there listening, we're going to wrap it up. But Roy and I did talk about next year, we're going to do the same kind of thing. We'll probably start a little earlier than the tournament, though, Roy. I think we got to get ahead of the conference tournaments, maybe about January when we get in conference tournament play, or January into conference play. We'll start jumping on about every other week or every week and just update who we see that's hot, what we're seeing out there, and kind of create a show once football ends and January's here. Have a show that's focused on basketball for the last 3 or 4 months of basketball season.
Oh, yeah, I love that, man. I love it. So, and the football, I'm all in, too. As long as we're talking about my Seminoles, man, I'm all in.
Me too, as long as you're talking about that bunch up there in the north. But, yeah, you and Jay, Seminole fans. And you know what? There's an audience out there that wants to talk ACC football, and we're not doing them a service here. I mean, there's a –
well, we're gonna also have to talk a little Colorado football.
Yeah, I know.
We'll have to talk a little bit about that because man, Coach Prime's my dude. That's my dude, man. So
Coach Prime is a dude, man, and we've got I love Coach Prime, and I tell you what, I don't know that he's going to win big at Colorado this year, but I guarantee it'll be exciting.
Oh yeah, I don't know that he can this year. He's got too much to do in the trenches.
Yeah.
I mean, and you and I both know if you're going to have the trenches short up, you just ain't going to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But he's got the skill guys there. He's got the skill guys.
He'll beat he'll beat somebody he ain't supposed to before the year's over.
Oh, yeah, he'll get some. He'll get a couple of wins there. So we'll see. But
all right,
man, I really enjoyed you having me on and allowing me to talk, man. This is just great times for me. I enjoy it, man. Just kick back and relax and talk a little b-ball, man. I love it.
I promise you, this is going to happen next year, and it's going to start about January. For Roy Pankey, for Randall Cunningham, y'all go get your popcorn, go sit down in front of the TV. That's where I'm headed. Roy, any last things to watch tonight in the game? Something that you can tell everybody if you see this, watch for this.
I'm going to tell you this. If San Diego State can get on a little bit of a run, look for an upset. I'm saying UConn's going to win this thing, but I want San Diego State to win it. I'm going to tell you, if they can put a nice little run together and build that confidence, watch for an upset.
All right, Roy. All right, good night, everybody. Go get your popcorn. Thank you, and follow RiverCity-Media.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime, Roy.
Hey, brother, enjoy the